So let's start our event. Thanks for coming to the afternoon session of the launch of the AIT Enterprises Alliance. Can I ask, please, all the speakers coming to the stage and joining me? And can we have our online guest on the screen? Okay, thank you very much for coming all the way to AIT, to our panel discussion today on technology innovation shaping the future and how we need to adapt businesses. So we are still waiting for our online guest. We have one more panelist who is online and who should appear on the screen. Can we get our online guest on the screen, please? So in the meantime, maybe I can quickly welcome our guest. So Dr. Titi from the team group. He's a double alumni from AIT. And John Fall from Getlings here. Thanks for coming. And Mati from Kubota, Siam Kubota, and Dr. Jang Tom from the National Innovation Agency. Yeah, thanks for coming to this event. And now we have one speaker online, Mr. Herbert Hongbo Chen. He's now, I believe, in China. Thanks for joining this event. So let me open the stage. So this is one of 3 panel discussions we're having this afternoon in 3 locations here at AIT. So technology innovation shaping the future and how businesses need to adapt to it. So we all know, so innovation is one of the major factors that propels businesses. And so we have reached a point now, we cannot adhere to old norms and ignore the impact of all the evolving technologies around us. And there are many of them. There's AI, data science, IoT, quantum computing, cloud computing. There's 4G, 5G, 6G. There's in medicine, CRISPR-Cas, for which just the Nobel Prize was awarded, which holds very big promises. And we have augmented reality, and so on. So they're all on our doorstep, and they will force our businesses to adapt, to stay competitive. And so this is a big challenge that awaits us. And so this is a topic for today. And so for the opening, I want to invite Mr. Herbert to give his views and vision, on those challenges that awaits us and how we can tackle them and adapt businesses to stay competitive. Mr. Herbert, please.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to be here, and I'm so happy to meet you from the screen, and I'm so happy to share some ideas about how innovation can push business forward. So as you said before, we have a modern technology ready on the door. We call them AI, quantum computing, IoT, and cloud computing. So what those new technology or new innovation can push business, can change the business model, can change the model of the production and the management of the company, what they will bring to us. So if sometimes when we want to get answer for the future, we may go back to the history to see what happened in the history. So what I'm going to do is to see that we have 4 industrial revolution until now. So what is those revolutions bring us the technology, the model of the production and also the business management. The first industrial revolution bring us a water steam engine. That means before that, all the things done by hand. But after that, we can use machine to produce something. At that time, the production model is a small workshop. People with a small group of people to produce small amount of products to meet people, customer demands. And the management skill at that time, I think, is maybe sometimes the inventor and the manager is the same person. It's a small group, one-person management. So this is maybe what happened in the fourth industrial revolution. And the second industrial revolution, we are lucky to get an alternator. We have electricity and the production changing from a workshop to assembling line, to a big factory with more and more workers to produce a larger amount of the product and with a lower price. And also the management model changing from one person to a group of person. There's a CEO, there's a head of a department, managing different group of people working together. And in the third industrial revolution, we got a computer. We got a more smart control machine, computer. So the production line changed from assembling to automation. So more and more machines, less people. And the management, because we have more communication tools, more efficient, so the management structure becomes more flat. Now the question is, what happened now? What happened for the future? For my personal view is, I think the model of the production will become more intelligent. Not only automation, but also intelligent. That means this machine can do what you want. From one production line, maybe you can get different producers. And I also, not only the factory people can order to issue the order to the production line, maybe the customers from the internet, they can issue the order directly to the production line. They can I want different colors, I want different size, I want different functions. You know, you can put your demand in the system, and after 1 week, you can get what you want from the delivery. So this is the intelligent production, I think, is in the future. By this way, I think the model of the management becomes more flat, or even no higher or lower difference. People are working in the same level. I mean, one person can be manager, but at the same time, they are staff. They finish some job, the other people give them, and then they give the job to other people. They can just work at home in the morning. You say they work for company A, and afternoon they work for the company B, C, D, and they get paid from different organizations or companies. So I call them great management. The people management each other by efficient tool or by efficient APP or something. So this is my first idea, I think, that answer the question how the innovation will push business forward. I want to take one more minute to say what we should prepare for this. I think for the company, you have to pay more and more attention on data. Not only the data in your factory or in your production line, but before, when you get the raw materials, the parts from other suppliers, that they were coming not only the parts, but also the different data, a set of data, say what this part may be made. And not only in the production line, but also after the product produced and selling to the customer. And after 5 years, this product is still sending back the data to you. So for instance, if you're selling a car, and the car will automatically send the data back every year or every half year to say which part of the car is still working well and which part of the car have a problem. So you can feed back this data and then you can improve your production. So I think the data will be so important in the future in manufacturing company. And universities, of course, we have to pay more attention about AI, data analysis and collections, deep learning technology, green development. But remember, people still the king. Even some intelligent or the production line can do better than people. But for the management level, for the development of the future of the company or corporate culture, strategy management still depend on the men, depend on the people. So I think maybe we still need an MBA program, a more MBA program. For the people, I think, yeah, we have to ready to transfer. Before, maybe you are a skilled worker, you can make a lot of money, but in the future, the skilled worker will be replaced by different intelligent people, the machine. So the people have to be ready for transfer from skilled worker to intelligent workers, and also different deep learning terms. So this is what I am thinking now, just to share with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Herbert, you are the Deputy Director of TUSPark, and TUSPark runs industry parks in China and in many places around the world. So what will be TUSPark's role in this transformation?
Well, we are facing so big challenges, you know. The task park, or this is the park, is the building. When you talk about the science park, there's many buildings, office in the buildings. But what happens in the future if people not much need the buildings, need the offices? They can work at home. So we really think a lot about this during this pandemic period. I think in the future, the science park is not like this. We have 1 million square meters in one place. No. Maybe in the future, we will divide those 1 million square meters to 10 locations. So people can choose different location. They can work in any locations for one company or for different companies. So this will be the big change in the future. The second change is about 1 million square meters. Before, almost all office, you have a desk, you have a computer over there. But in the future, I think the composition of the space will be changed. Only maybe half is for the desk, people can work over there. But this desk is no longer belong to you only. This is a shared desk. You want to use the desk, you have to put the application first, right? The other half of the space will make a showroom, make a meeting room, make a roadshow place. You know, people will come to the place, come to the space for communication, not only for sitting in the front of the computers.
Okay, thank you very much. So now with this, I want to come to a first round of questions to the panelists who are here physically with me on the stage. And you know, in this first round, I want to ask you, so if you look back to the last 10 years, actually we want to speak about the future today, but let's quickly look back to the last 10 years. Which innovation, in your opinion, has changed the way we live and work most? And, you know, will those innovations really continue to change, or will they completely replaced by something new, which we can later discuss? So maybe I can start this round with Dr. Titi from Team Group.
Okay, so first of all, right, we are listed companies, so I must say that these are, I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of the company, but I'll share my experience, right? So this is a personal opinion, okay? When we look at the 10 years ago, I think these ideas, the Sustainable Development Goals, have been around for some time. And in this morning, we have seen the discussion a lot in the the morning part, right? These goals are what the UN wants, and everyone agrees. I would say the world agrees on this one. And I would say in the past 10 years, it was where the exponential growth of world connectivity have been realized, right? If you look back 10 years ago, the 3G was still in the baby stage, and we were talking like this, like today, we were talking like the video calls or whatever, and the internet was transitioned from the modem slow speed to the fast speed. In the past 10 years, we have seen quality of life in terms of the consumer getting better. What we can see, witness, is during the pandemic, that when all the research companies, McKinsey or whatever they call, like especially in Asia, that we still thrive. Yeah, people in Europe, they're still not in, but in Thailand right now we can gather and meet quite okay, right? and then we live with the apps, food delivery, whatever. So everything around us as a consumer has been quite mature. This is in the past 10 years, from what I say. And then we'll see lots of business model, the business transformation, where we have been talking like the work from anywhere. Even this place. Actually, I learned how to work from the coffee shops or meeting rooms. When our friends from China mentioned, right, that in the past we can be shared working space. But I learned when I was in the since master degree in the year 2000, and then in the doctoral, you can work from dorm, we can work from the coffee shop, from anywhere. This is what have been going on in the past 10 years. Yeah. And so, and then the next question is what will happen in the next, right?
Yes, you know,
Right.
will those technologies that changed the last 10 years also change the next 10 years, or
Right.
will that totally replace?
I would say that in the next 10 years, it is the continuation of the advancement that mankind has been made since history of the science technologies. But we are built on top of that. I would say the next step, this is the goal of what will the UNs and everyone wants to see what is happening, right? The SDG. And nowadays, if you look at the sum of the goals, like the in terms of consumer, it's quite all right. But in terms of the quality of life and the next steps, like you can see some like the sustainability, the environment, the climate change, many things. We are at the inflection point, and COVID is the catalyst. Now we can, if we always scientists, engineers, we have been in school. If you look at the right hand side of the pictures, right? In the universities or in engineering school, you have seen lots of equations like this. These examples are the structural engineering, because I'm a structural engineering, right? You can see the equation for the finite element analysis, and then downstairs is the theory, the knowledge behind the AI, right? AI, from the consumer side, we have been talking like how AI can help mankind. But from my point of view as a technical person, we are seeing like in the next 10 years is the important part how the experts are built and then teach AI. So we're talking about how, when we talk about AI, we don't talk about how it can be taught. Because the engineering, how you build a house, build a home, is a domain of civil engineering. You want the robot to build it, but then the robot doesn't know how to build. So it's the time for the technical people to merge into the computer, the IT side. But we have constraint. It must be practical, not just throwing the money, throwing technologies in, and it must be scalable. Because it's just not in lab level. We have seen many in the lab level if you look at the journals, papers a lot. But now is the time for the realization, the real realization, right? And it must interpret, not just, okay, this lab and this country, this company work, because we want it to impact the globally. If you look at the economics, right? Or the e-finance, e-commerce, e-business, all the companies, finally they agree upon certain standards so that they can work together. It's the same for the technical domain. We have to, it's a lot of work to agree on certain standards for interoperable. And then most importantly, it must be affordable. If it's just say, just very expensive thing and it's just a wow thing in the lab scale or in showroom, it doesn't work. So these are the 4 challenging questions. I think it can be attained realization, but it needs change of mindset, change of rule, and many things together. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Chegatom, so what is your view on this? What impacted us in the last 10 years most, and will that continue or replaced?
May I have my slide, please? Actually, to answer your question in brief, I think the technology that quite have a big impact to our society, to our economy in the last 10 years, I think it's in the short term, I think it should be digital technology. Actually, if you look back 20 years ago, the word is quite, we use information technology instead. And the information technology, the term of information technology transformed to digital nowadays because the scope of that we use information technology is quite spread out and applied in different areas. But I would like to point to, next slide, please. Actually, I think the impact is not the technology itself. I think the impact is how we create the value from the technology. In the last 10 years, this one is the area that we identify, my organization identified that the area that we have the opportunity for innovation. And we believe that this area of seven area of innovation already emerged and some already mature, but some at the early stage. But when we talk about innovation 20 years ago, we quite focused on business innovation. If you look into the school of innovation management, most of the subject, most of the area of study is quite related to business innovation. But nowadays, the word innovation is used brought in a broad area. For example, we use the innovation in the area of social innovation, try to create a new value, sometimes from technology, sometimes from creativity, to solve the social problem, society problem. We also get into the data era. That data is quite important. For example, the data-driven innovation is quite important. Many startups rely on data. They mention that data is like a goal in our business. So I think the most important thing about the technology is how can create value from the technology. And for the next 10 years, I also believe that the digital technology will still be the most important technology and have a high influence to the business and to the society, but it might be more advanced. For example, AI, machine learning, or maybe IoT gonna be take place and spread out in the society and in the environment more. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, so Mr. Mete, what is your view on this?
For before about the next 10 years, I guess same as you asked that about the last 10 years, what have changed us most? I'm thinking a lot which one to choose because a lot of things has happened in the past 10 years. But I guess the most impact one is that the smartphone. Even though if we carefully look at the smartphone itself is not used any cutting edge technology. It's a cumulative of the, I guess maybe past 20 years technology into a single device. But why those technology has changed us a lot? Because it's already invented more than 10 years or even 20 years ago. Because it bring values, new values to the people. And not only specific people, but broad people. And this can change us all, change everyone. Because in the past, the computers, the software, the website maybe can be accessed by some people that have a PC. And then get familiar with the PCs or the operating system of the PCs. But when the smartphone come, everyone can use it. So business owner or the other company can like bring their values through the smartphone channel. So it changed a lot in the world. So I guess for the next 10 years, can you share my slide, please? Actually, based on the current situation, since my company was related to the agricultural machinery field, so we take a very close look and also see in the future about what is the trend in the agriculture. One of the things is, of course, Agri 4.0 is will become. Actually, if we take a careful look on the agriculture 4.0, it's nothing new. It's also the same as the smartphone as a cumulative of the previous technology. IoT is not new. Microprocessor is not new. Telecommunication is not new. No new technology at all. But how can we make the business and also bring the new value to the broader customers in current situation. But another thing is about the climate change. Climate change, okay, maybe we can see it as an obstacle or the issues that we have to solve, but it's also like force us to change and can like force our customers and also even in all the population to see the world in different way, to see value. Some value may be higher than the past. Like for example, our health. We take care more about our health or even the air. We monitor air every day about PM 2.5. If you live in Bangkok, you will have to monitor every day what is the situation of PM 2.5 right now. This is an example. The next is about the aging society. So because the society is aging, so if we can make tasks done easier, it will be better and it can sell faster and sales more easier because a lot of people has been ages and also digital lifestyle because everyone get used to the UI and also the application through the smartphone. So we can bring new value much easier. And right now, even our company have tried lots of things. We can see still that the digital technology still haven't penetrated much into our customer or the farmers itself. So next slide, please. So I guess the next 5 years or the 10 years that we mainly focus, especially in the agriculture field, is that the implementation of the precision agriculture. And it's not new at all. Again, if everyone look at the slide, you can understand what precision agriculture is, but why it's not broadly adopted. The reason is that the value itself, and also how can we transform the values into profit, not only for the business owner or the company, but also for the farmers itself. It's not an easy task. The technology is ready, but we need someone, we need some, or even cumulative mind of lots of people to integrate lots of technology together and make it profitable for the farmer itself. I guess that was the key and the key driver technology. Maybe the key driver technology for the next 10 years is the AI or the neural network that can solve lots of complex problems for us. And of course, again, AI and neural network is not new at all. I have studied in master's degree 10 years ago. So it's not a new technology at all, but we still have to wait. We still have to taste and research more to use this technology to make it profitable for our farmers and all the population in the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So John, what is your view on this? Which impacted us most, and will it continue or replaced?
Yeah, thank you first for inviting me alongside this very interesting, insightful panel speakers. So I'm honored to be part of this panel today. I'm here to represent GetLinks. So GetLinks is the largest technology hiring marketplace in Southeast Asia. We are funded by Alibaba, and we're the only Thai startup to be funded by Alibaba for one reason. Because our mission statement is to support, to bring humanity to technology, right? And that's a big mission statement, which we do only in Southeast Asia, and that's already a lot of work. And how we do that is by supporting for the next 10 years, every SMEs, every corporate companies to evolve from a traditional company to become a tech company. Right? And so that's a lot of business. As you can imagine, over the last 6 years of operation, we've gathered more than 6 million digital talents across Southeast Asia, including Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, and Hong Kong. We've helped thousands and thousands of people to get into technology jobs. Hence, maybe I'm one of the good candidates to speak about this topic, right? How do we help the economy to adapt, right? Not only the corporate, but also the individuals. So with this perspective, I've been talking to a lot of C-levels last 10 years, as you can imagine, for this business. I've come to realize there is 3 key parameters which gonna impact the next 10 years, and I'm gonna speak shortly about it. I think for the past 10 years, my fellows here already nailed it, so there's nothing much I can say. Smartphone, etc. Yeah, of course, it's been a massive change, right? I will just add up a little bit on the e-commerce. I think giving the possibility for anyone to make money online have been a big innovation for the past 10 years. But overall, the assessment of my friends here is really relevant. So I will focus on the next 10 years. I believe there is 3 major variables that everyone, individuals and companies alongside with governments, going to have to really take in consideration, which were not part of the past decade. As a generation, I'm a millennial. I'm French. I grew up in Europe. I live in Asia for the past 10 years, so I've seen those both worlds. I spent 2 years in California as well, so I've seen a bit of things, right? And the 3 things that come back all the time, and I think it's really important, is number 1, the environmental changes that are gonna come to us, right? COVID was just a teaser, or maybe an appetizer of the environmental changes that all humanity and our civilization are going to be facing. The rise of the overall climate across the planet, just 1 degree, is not just, it's a bit more hot. There's a lot of diseases that's going to be spreading. Paludism and other diseases that usually were centralized in very specific regions going to actually be spread much more easily, right? And flu, like COVID, etc., are going to also be accelerated by this very small temperature increase across the planet, right? Not talking about the sea rises and other implications which will impact massively farmers and the bottom of the pyramid globally. Right? So we're talking about 240 million migrants by 2025 that will leave those regions and to come knock the door of Thailand government, for example, to knock the door of Europe. Right? So this is a massive amount of people who are going to be displaced by climate change in the next 5 years. And this will impact seriously how businesses are acting, how government policy are evolving, and how people in general are impacted. Right? We see the rise of nationalism. We see the rise of populism. Right? We see people who will never thought to be elected actually be elected because people are angry. Right? So the second big part is the political reshuffling, which governments will have to adjust with, right? So climate will impact the government policy because poverty will increase, right? And a lot of government actually will disappear. I don't know about Thailand government, but you can see the rise of protest everywhere across the planet. This is not just in Thailand. This is in Africa, this is in Europe, this is in France. And it's been here for the past 5 years. It's going to just increase and increase. So that's a major variable that every business is going to have to think of, even before to think about AI or IoT. And I think even though I am a tech guy, I'm a nerd, I'm a coder, I'm known as one of the big tech guy, but honestly, there's less to think about than just the tech and AI. I think climate change and government reshuffling going to be a big deal. And lastly, of course, everything that my fellow here have mentioned going to be a big deal, but there's one thing I want to put a nuance maybe. It's the penetration of this digital transformation and the access of these AI and new technologies not going to be for everyone. And I think this is something that we don't talk enough. So I will be taking the hat of the guy going to talk about this today during this panel. In my company, I have been helping, a couple of thousand people in Thailand to be paid maybe 5, 6, 7 times higher than the average salary in the country. This is not fair, right? So for the next decade ahead, I don't think it's going to change enough, unfortunately, right? There's a minority of people who will have very high-level technology skill sets. There's a minority of people who will have the control of those machines, of those robots, of those software, and they're going to become incredibly rich, while another majority of those 99% are going to actually not going to make any money from that. And I'm happy because I'm on the good side right now. I've got actions into Amazon, which have grown like 7 times last 6 months. But what about the other 99%, right? And I think this is where adapting and giving a chance, giving a shot to everyone to be able to adapt, to be part of the digital economy, going to be the challenge for the next decade. This is the only challenge, actually. Because don't worry about the 1%. They're going to have everything about technology, AI that we're talking about here. But what about the 99% really going to be being part of this adaptive economy is the key. So I actually wrote a book about this. It's called The Adaptive Economy. It's here. And this is really about that, right? So how to give chances for everyone to be part of this digital economy. I think it's going to be a lot of work for you from NIA. It's going to be a lot of work for individuals and schools, right? Universities, to be able to give a chance for their graduates to be relevant after they graduate. And I think this is the big challenge. So yeah, that's my view for the next 10 years.
Okay, thank you. So that's not only an adaptation in technology; it's also an adaptation in new values and access and access for everybody, and sustainable development goals and how companies can support them, and so on. Okay, very good. So in a second round, I want to touch the point of, we talked about some technologies here, mobile phones, everybody using them. But there are something on the doorstep, completely new technologies, which are maybe in the lab stage or prototype stage and so on. For example, quantum computing is one of them. They are not really a quantum computer we can buy today. Or I mentioned CRISPR-Cas, that can have huge impact in medicine. Just recently, the Nobel Prize was awarded for this. Is just two examples, and so those technologies which are not yet widely adapted, will they come, and how much will they impact us, and which of those companies should put their attention on early. And maybe again, I want to start this round with our online guest, Mr. Herbert, to give his views on this. Mr. Herbert, you may be muted. Okay, is he still there?
Yes, I'm still.
Yes. Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I try to share my PPT. Is that working? Can you see the PPT? Okay. Can you see my PPT? Yes, I think you can see. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question. For my personal point of view, I think the energy storage will be the next revolution, because I think people knows we have renewable energy in this world, in this global renewable energy is more than enough for the human beings to use. But the only problem is how can we storage? How can we put them off somewhere and we can use it when we need it? I think this is the key issue and in front of us. We have a couple of ways to solve the energy problem. I think the energy storage, the battery, will be the more closed one to reach this target. I think now we have different research directions about the battery. We have a lithium battery, we have aluminum battery, and graphene battery. It's all on the way. It's in the lab and the prototype, but not realized yet. And one more important thing is that the charging time. We still need hours to charging the battery and the lifetime as well. So how many years we can use this battery? So there's three problems in front of the battery technology. I think everybody agree, if we work through this technology, our whole life will be changed. The first topic is that the energy will be no problem for anywhere of the world. say, we are not going to worry anything about the energy. Energy is more than enough. So you can think about that. All the products, cost, price, many percentage is concerned can come back to the energy, right? If the energy cost greatly reduced, so all the products will be more cheaper than what they is in the current. And this will be the part of the solution for the last speaker talking about how the people can share the technology. How can people can more balanced. So in the remote area, we have many problems about the energy, right? So if we can have a good technology for the battery, I think we can elaborate the things to the remote area. The remote area will have a base. There will be have panels of solar panel. They will never shut down. So this is my point. I think we have to work very hard. But I would like to hear some idea from you as well. How many years do you think we can have this ready for us to use? We can bruise through this technology. I want to hear from you as well. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, thanks. That's very interesting because the same view was shared by Mr. Link this morning in the morning session. You know, Mr. Link is from the B. Grimm company. They operate in Thailand for 147 years. They started with pharmacy, and now they ventured in the energy sector. And he also pointed out this is one of the big challenges and hurdles to overcome. Of course, there are two types of energy storage in principle: the large-scale storage for grids, and the small-scale storage for mobile devices and things like this. Yes. Okay, so. That's one technology we have identified, which could be a disruptor. So maybe we can start the round here on the floor on your opinion. What will be the next disruptive technologies which are in the pipeline, and how your business needs to adapt to them and will apply it?
Right. Okay. So in continuation from my previous round and from the colleagues, okay, we can see that at this time there is quite a discrepancy in the digital literacy, and when that two types, the people around 40 plus is one group, and the digital native like my daughter or is one, and then there's someone in between. So, but if you foresee in the next 10 years, what we are seeing is everything digital, and it's like an advanced version of the work from home during COVID. It's in some companies, especially the tech companies, we have been. It's like normal. Nothing happens. I was listening to some of the podcast people or the YouTube that they say COVID doesn't affect their business or they earn more or something. But what the many governments around the world says is that with the advancement of technologies, we're seeing bigger digital divide. But at the end, if we see what the world wants, according to the SDG, we want everyone to go together, no one is left behind, right? So one of the common tasks that is not seeing like a big one, but it will last like maybe 10 years, is to get the digital literacy or logical thinking or systematic thinking to master the technology or the computer in the equally, like for the grassroots people, for the layman until the executive, top executive. Each of the party will need certain kind of job to live together in the digital world. That is quite disruptive in terms of social science, but not technology. But this one is important because otherwise you just at the advanced people you just go. It's like a skyrocket, but you are leaving a lot of people behind. And when that thing happens, you will see like social unrest is like Now is the John said that today is just a teaser. But if it goes like this, you'll see like in the sci-fi movies, some of the super boss are there, and then the world will be a mess. This is one job. Another thing that needs to be done is maybe for the digital native, because we are phasing out 10 years from now, right? So the phasing out, when we are phasing out, you will be in the somehow like a mentor. But the knowledge that have been accumulated maybe like thousands of years, like I said, like you cannot, we are relying on AI or robots. But AI right now, you see that if you look at the machine learning or the algorithms, that's nothing new because the IT people have been there. It's like you teaching a baby and then let it learn on a trial and error basis. Yeah. If you say some say like in the code things, right? Then you say the competition. You're trying to let the machine come up with a heuristic algorithm, such that it's trial and error. But human being, we have learned systematically. We have failed many times. We know what works, what doesn't work. Even the mathematics, right? When if you go back to basics algorithm, that is pure science, pure mathematics that people have been going on. But these things have not been properly propagated into like a common basis for the AI to learn. There was some attempts maybe during more than 10 years ago, but it was under another term, but in the field of AI. But that one we were teaching about how to teach computer, the knowledge representation, the inference engine. Some example is like the open world assumption, the closed world assumption, and many things. There's something deep into that. So that one have to be expanded. So we have to set up a formal collaboration among this community, right? And then the knowledge have to be expanded into the other domains, right? In civil engineering, in agriculture, we're talking about the smart agriculture, the many things that, for those things, it deals with the, nowadays the hot topic is like the remote sensing, right? Seeing from the satellite and then see that this crops has this disease. Another thing is the sensors from water, from the environmental things. But how to determine which one is good, which one is not good. Then it's another technical field. And to those people, like those in the farm, the real farmers, who knows much more than machine, this is how do you capture knowledge and then let these two extremes live peacefully and prosperly. Yeah, this will be the challenge. And I think in the next 10 years, this thing, if it goes on well, it will merge somehow. But then we would need like another maybe 10 more years to get it to the real productive. Yeah, that's my share. So we'll see two points. One is for the general people, and another one is for the technical ones or the professional ones. Right.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Chertom, from the perspective of the National Innovation Agency, so what you see are the technologies that you have now maybe in the pipeline, or which ones you are pushing because you may believe they will make an impact, hopefully a positive impact. And can you give your perspective on this?
Actually, digital, quantum computing, energy, renewable energy, all these promising technology can create a big impact to the world and to the future. But in case of Thailand, I think the most important technology is in the area that relate to food and agriculture, because we have a lot of resource of natural resource, especially in the area of food and agriculture, and also food and agriculture industry is quite linked to many people, many agriculture in Thailand. And if we can encourage them or support them to use technology to make their big improvement in their production, their productivity, and their living, I think it's quite have a big impact to Thailand society, to Thai society. But when we talk about the technology that relate to food and agriculture, there is two main levels that I would like to mention. The first one is not quite advanced technology. It's a technology that agriculture farmer can access, can learn. Because the problem is the investment. They cannot spend money, and also they don't have enough knowledge to learn about that. So the problem, the challenge for this level is you have to make the technology is in the cost that low enough for them to pay to invest. And also we have to educate them to learn about what is the value of this technology and how to apply all this technology to their life, to their farming, to their farm. Another level is at the level of the manufacturing level to the production, because actually in Thailand we have a lot of food manufacturers that have a capability to invest, and they're looking for the new product line and new way to create the value from the raw material. Basically, in the past, most of Thai food manufacturer they export like a canned food. It's a low level of the food production, but now they invest a lot in some area of technology like biotechnology, maybe AI, in order to explore the new way to use to extract the new value from the raw material for the food. For example, some Thai big food manufacturer, they invest a lot in the biotechnology. They try to produce some kind of extraction that can create more value and create more money from the raw material, instead of try to produce like a canned food or low level of the product. So I think in case of Thailand, technology that relate to the food and agriculture, for example, biotechnology or maybe smart farming, precision farming, all this can make the big impact to the Thai society and Thailand.
Yes. So one is technology on the very high level, you know, like artificial meat or artificial shrimp, correct? And the other is, even we have technology, that doesn't mean the normal farmer is able to use it. Where we back to the title of our, forum here, adaption by the business. Okay. So that is also your field, food and agriculture. So what is your view?
Okay, I guess the technology is that will be coming. I guess I have thinking a lot when I listen to other colleagues, and I think back to the smartphone case is the cumulative of the previous technologies. So I'm thinking about the next 10 years is not the new technology, maybe not the new technology, but the new cumulative things of the technology. So I'm thinking about the general robotics, because smartphones enable us in terms of sensories, in terms of the thought, like the AI can provide us with the information. We can access to information. We can feed with the new BDS through the smartphone screen. We can order things, but they cannot do things for us. There's no manipulators, and even though we have robots, we have remote sensing, they can do just a specific job. But I guess right now, what will change, maybe like all of the population, is that the robots that can do lots of things within the single robots. I guess it's possible. If we can talk like this, it's not new technology at all, but it's not viable right now. And why it has to be like general, same as smartphone. Smartphone is general. Everyone can use it, and it can solve lots of people for many kinds of tasks. So same as a general robots. And in terms of the robotics, if you can sell in many fields with just a single product, you can implement the economy of scale. So you can sell it. The business model will be feasible for sure. So it just I guess the next 10 years is nothing new in the lab level, but it's a cumulative of the technology that's already published, and then accumulate together, integrated together into some products they can sell throughout the world and solve lots of people. And I guess the big impact of the robot is not a good not good impact for us for sure, because it can do lots of work instead of us. So there are very huge people will be left behind generation, they will have no work to do. So I guess that's the one thing that like for the humankind have to adapt. And lots of people talk about the rise of the robot. I don't believe in that, but I guess it will be the rise of the robot for the elite people, for the people that owns the robot, to own the business that sells the robot. So those robots can do lots of business for them, and they don't need to hire people. And that will be a big issue for the humankind for the next 10 years if it happens. Yeah, thank you.
So in the agribusiness, will technology cause actually injustice? You know, for example, the availability of really advanced technology requires capital investment, and that may only be available to big companies or
Yes.
conglomerates.
Yes.
And the small farmer will not have that access.
Yeah.
So it may not be always to the best.
Yeah, that maybe not only just have an access, but have no roles in it.
Yes.
Because the robot is a manipulator for the big companies, so they can do by themselves. No need to hire anyone.
Yes.
So that's and I guess it will coming soon, very soon, because when we talk about this, everyone think it's not new at all. It's possible in our sense, but it's not. We haven't seen it yet, but I guess it's very soon that it will become.
Okay, thank you. So John, what do you think is the new disruption that will come? Can we really foresee it, or what will it be?
Yeah, that's my humble opinion, and I'm still a millennial, so you know I rely on maybe older people to see cycles and trends. But there's three things which I think gonna really be the recap of the next 10 years, and humbly, I don't know the future, but I found a trick which I'm gonna share with you right now, which helped me to say things like this. And so there is this thing called the Gartner cycle, and I invite every one of you to Google it right now, Gartner cycle, and that's how I imagine the future, because this is very simple. This is a curve like this, and in this curve, you can see the technology that everyone is talking about right now. It's the hype cycle, right? So the one that are on the top of the hype, AI, biotechnology, quantum computing, VR, all these things, they're on the top of the hype. You can be sure 100% that they won't impact your life next 5 years, 100%. And you can be 80% sure that it won't impact your life as a middle-class individual in Thailand for the next 10 years. So you can forget about it. Okay. So they will, however, come down and be on the mass scale 10 years later, on average, right? So it's not now, but in 10 years, maybe 2040, we'll be talking about it. But this technology already exists. As you mentioned, most of the technology that we use today that are so incredible, like a smartphone, actually have been developed 20 years ago, right? It's just the adoption of this technology takes immense amount of time, right? And partially across the world in emerging countries, etc., because you need the price to drop, right, for this technology to be accessible. So you just learned something today, and I'm not a teacher. So my first point is education. Online education is one of the key things that's going to change the world next 10 years. I see Harvard schools, teachers being watched by kids in Thailand from their smartphone for free. I see the best technology skill sets, JavaScript, Node.js to be taught for free on Google Skill Shop right now for any of your kids. And hence, university is going to have a big issue. Right? Like, how do you make money, right? Well, content is free now, so you're going to have to deal with that, right? And that's beautiful. I think that's a really big thing that we're going to see the next 10 years for the 99%. Really, millions and millions of people are going to have access to free knowledge. Of course, they need to really be interested to learn free knowledge instead of watching Netflix and playing games, but that's another topic. So for the one who wants education, online education is going to be a really big deal, and that's going to really impact our lives, because that's going to cascade down to those people you were talking about, right? Those farmers, hopefully, those bottom of the pyramid, and that's going to be a massive way to help those people adapt, right? To come back to the title of this panel, this is really how to help people adapt. So online education going to be a massive driver of this, pushed with the adoption of mobile for really most of the people in the planet. We're talking about 5.4 billion mobile users in 2025. So it's pretty much everyone who have a smartphone, right? So number one is online education. Number two is the distribution of the manufacturing and energy production means. So that's a very important one. I spend a lot of time in Shenzhen. I love Shenzhen because this is really like going to Star Wars and coming back. Right? It's like you go to Shenzhen, you're like in the future, and then you come back and you're in, not in the future. In Shenzhen, I've seen literally kids of like 13 years old making smartphone with their own hands and printing it, right? And then selling it on the street for like $20. So you have kids who are not even going to school who can just print a high-value technology product and sell it on the street, gather feedback from the users, add a feature, change it, reduce the cost of the battery. They can do that by themselves. And this is what I call distribution of the manufacturing means. And if you look at the past 100 years or even 1,000 years, this never happened before. And this is because 3D printing was 10 years ago on the top of the hype cycle. So now we are finally on the time where 3D printing and the associated technologies are actually very cheap. Right? You can buy a 3D printer in Lazada for $100 now. Right? So you can print anything. You don't need to buy something on plastic in the shop anymore. If you're really cheap and you don't want to pay something, you just print it. Right? And 3D printing, as well as other technologies around that, going to be very affordable, right? And I come back to the power energy grid. I think distribution of the energy grid going to be a big deal as well, partially for the Muban, right? The villages, the agricultures, etc. They're going to be able to access to solar panel for very cheap as well, and the battery price is also dropping. So this second part of distribution of manufacturing and energy power going to enable a third point, which is e-commerce and remote work at scale. I think our friend here just mentioned it, right? The future is grid, right? So it's not really because companies going to give up on their CEO. It's because 90% of the people who graduate from AIT today won't have a corporate job because those corporate won't be hiring next 10 years. Sorry, but this is what's going to happen. There's no job. The mass employment era is gone. This is done. And people will have to eat, so they will have to work. So they're going to work by making their own e-commerce shop. They're going to work by making maybe their own freelance services available online. They're going to work by accumulating different online jobs, which they will be enabled to do from home or anywhere. Right? And that's, I think, going to be a big deal, which we haven't seen last 10 years. McKinsey is talking about 230 million people globally who will be remote workers. This is 40% of the global workforce, the active global workforce, 40%. So this is, I'm pretty sure about the future, about those 3 points, because I've got data, and this is how I envision the world. So a lot of online learning that will help those people to adapt. A lot of new distribution and manufacturing distribution means. So everyone will be able to do e-commerce and make money for their families through e-commerce and remote work. I think those are the 3 points which will impact really our life and be accessible for a lot of people.
Thank you. So thanks all panelists. Maybe we go to a first round of question and answers from the audience. Anybody has a question here to our panelists? Yes?
Hello. Can you? Yeah, okay. I'm Ivan. Hi. Abalon Labs. We work with companies on their journey to digital transformation, teach them about blockchain, AI, and a lot of the things you guys have talked about. One of the topics that I always try to bring in there is ethics. Now, you've talked about AI being on the rise, and yes, it'll be another 10, 20 years before it becomes mass consumable, but we're already using it. People are already loading their data everywhere. Yes, there is free online education, but nothing is free. You give data about yourself, about how you're learning, what you're doing, how you're doing it to these companies. And what AI is a massive accumulation of data. You feed it data, you give it more data, you teach it more data, and more data, it starts producing its own data. And then you use that data and you sell that data. And of course, that is part of this new economy. And you look at social media platforms, all they're doing is aggregating data, selling that data, using that data. So that sort of comes into this ethical question, right? Is there enough discussion within your companies, within the government, within your organizations about how are we ethically using the data that we're accumulating? Do you feel that your company is doing enough about it? Is this something that a company by itself should be doing? Or is this something that us, the private sector, should be leading? Is this something the government should be leading? How do you feel about the ethical use of data going forward, especially shaping the future?
Yes. Mm. So, John, can you make a comment about this one?
Was the question for me or for maybe our
It's for everybody. It's for everybody.
I honestly think our government friend here is more relevant for that one. But yeah, all companies compliant with GDPR, of course.
Do you feel that this is something we should leave up to the government? Like, yes, the question obviously also goes to the government. Do you feel you're doing enough? Do you feel that your own business is doing enough? And B, do you feel, and I see our colleague online shaking his head, no, do you feel that we, the private sector, should be leaving this up to the government? Or should we be leading this discussion like the private sector is leading the blockchain discussions and the AI discussions? Is this a discussion we should be leading?
So my humble opinion is simply that no, we're not enough. We're not doing enough, and this is because there's no government who have enough power to face that. The government have so much other stuff to deal with, and they are, for most of them, 20 to 30 years late in the game, in policy development. So they lost already. And there's nothing you can do against people who have an iPhone. You're not going to tell them, oh, don't use iPhone because our president said so, right? So China have done on the other way. I've seen that, and they have blocked with all these global limitation to access to the Chinese market. They took the control of that data opportunity. But I think for most of the other government in the world, this is game over already. So there's nothing they will be able to do. It's too late. Now, individuals, on the other hand, have power because as the same way you can vote to elect your government, you can also choose to not buy the product from a company which doesn't follow the value that you believe in. But most often people don't think about this, and they just buy whatever their friends buy. So yeah, they lost as well. But maybe one chance is really education again, right? Learning to be a maker and not a consumer. Learning to be an actor of the technology and not a spectator. Being curious enough to understand how this smartphone is working, and when it's free, what does really free means? You need a certain degree of maturity with technology. And that goes with digital literacy, as our friend mentioned. I think this is very important, and that goes with the first point I mentioned, online education, digital literacy. Going to help people to be more mature about their online behavior, right? About their online consumption and digital consumption. So as online education will thrive next 10 years, people will be more mature and hopefully will give less of their data and go more to blockchain. That's my hope. But again, that's just my opinion.
Okay. I would like to add something. Actually, my company, my organization, is not work in the area of data protection, but also there are many issues about law and regulation that relate to innovation, because it's like the problem about it's like a two sides of the coin. Because if you basically regulation try to protect the consumer, but sometimes is a barrier for the inventor or for the business. So we need to learn about balance between them. But when we talk about law and regulation, it's quite something that quite contextualized to the culture, to the people, to the mindset, to your background, your history. So I think this one is something that we need to learn, and it needs time and educate people, educate the system, educate the government to balance between innovator and balance between the market.
Okay.
May I talk something?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, here, please.
Okay, please.
Okay. I think that's a very important and very interesting question. Data protection is a key issue. It's a big challenge now from everywhere of the world. But personally, I think the government is the key. It's the very important part to control this issue. Because when we use data, there are three parties. One is personal, second is company, and private or public company, and third is government. For personal, I'm in the weak side. When I go to shop, they say you can pay by your mobile phone. Now in China, if you pay by cash, maybe half of the shop will not accept. They say, sorry, we are not accept cash. You have to pay by phone. So by that means the customer is in the weak side. We have no choice. If we want to buy something, we have to use my mobile phone. When you use mobile phone, I agree, you give them the data. They will know when and where and what thing you buy for every month. So this is, I don't want them to know what kind of things I want to buy, purchasing, but I have no choice. So person is in weak side. For the company, the key for the company is to make a profit. When they make a profit, they reduce every cost if possible. Say if the data is free, there's no regulation, no lawyer to limit the company to use personal data. They will use it anyway because this is free for them. They can analyze the data, they can make the data to get some output. They don't want to get agreed with every individual. So that is what I mean. I think the government is the key position now. You have to set up the law. You have to set up the regulation to say what kind of data the company you got is belong to the company, and what kind of data you got is belong to the person. You can't use it. I think now it's a little bit late for the government to set up this kind of regulation. If we take this situation long, maybe another 5 years, there will be big issue coming up.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we have quite some views about this question. In the interest of time, can we allow some other question, a new question from the floor?
No, may I add? Coincidentally, I just gave a lecture in a data science course last week at this building. And the question is the same about some of the ethics. I myself, I'm a CISA, the Certified Information System Auditor. And in the IT auditor professional, we have the governance framework. And I have been working in a public company for this almost 10 years. And if you are talking in the listed companies, you're talking about good governance. And with the advancement of technologies, then morality is more important than ever. And you like I said, nobody's left behind. Now we are just quite advanced on material, but the morality and ethics is just a specialization of morality because it's like the law is written. But at the end, I was saying in the class that if you have questions, just ask your inner self that, okay, is it good? Am I wrong to do this? Like this, it's just this simple. And for the people to to command, to manage machines, you must be the real, it's like in the Asian terms, for the human, it takes something to be the human beings. And that is differentiate you from animal, from machine, from whatever, right? And this is for material to advance, then you need to keep track of this one and then keep the inner self of the people advancing as well. Yeah. And it goes to the good governance. It's not about IT. But at the end, then this have to keep this thing balanced. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So do we have one more question from the floor? So then can I ask a question, which is very important for AIT? So we talked about that information is free, not really free because we give some data, but now also you can learn online and this and this and this. So will universities become obsolete? So what is it for AIT? How do we need to adapt to stay in business?
Okay, because I haven't answered, just only the person. So I will take a chance to answer this first. I'm also thinking about this, and we have seen an online course where we globally adopt about the online courses. But in my company, and I guess in most of the company in Thailand, even in Asian, there's not all people convenience with the online learnings, because we all know that most of the knowledge, especially the technology knowledge is already free. We already have GitHub for a very long time. We have Stack Overflow for a very long time. But we still have a very few people, and we are still lack of the workforce in technologies. Why does that happen? Because there are very few people can learn that and be able to learn by that channel. So maybe the physical channel is still the majority. But anyway, maybe in the next 10 years, as you mentioned, that in the future, it's generation, the kid will be get used to the online training since they were born, maybe. But right now, the situation, the workforce, the majority of the workforce is not capable of the online training yet. So we still need some workshops. We still need some physical training, and also like as we all know that the programming is okay, but in terms of mechanicals, in terms of the skill, we are still need some skill because the AI still can provide us with just information, the decision, but there's no manipulators. Okay, we have 3D printings, but we still have to learn and to like have some experience about the mechanical things, the physical world things. So I guess that's the next position of the education institution, that they need to be more focused on the workshops or the physical interaction or the practice for their students. I guess that would be more about that, not about the knowledge, not about the discussion, but more physical, because the online training still cannot provide this kind of activities for the students.
Okay, thank you. So, so how AIT should adapt, how we can stay in business? Yeah, Herbert, please.
Well, I think university or AIT will be more and more important, not being isolated, because I have 3 points. The first one, the people learning something from screen. It's not like the products produced in production line. So you produce the same products with a mass production line, but people is different. You have a lecture from the screen, but people will have different questions. Now, who is going to answer these questions? People learn from questions, not from the content of the screen. So I think the classroom is important. People have to discuss, the other people not raising the question also can learn from the people who raising the question. That is so important. Second one, university is a research. It's also main task. People not learn some knowledge from past. We have to find something new. We have to discover something. That is the things of what university have to do in the laboratory. People have to discuss what kind of new ideas coming up. From the innovation, from new ideas, you can't just use screen, right? This is the second point. Third point, from my point of view, is that people come to university is not only for learning something, but for know something, but for know somebody. Those people who working in the same classroom, they will be, the relationship will keep for whole life. You never know when one day you get a phone call, say, hello, where are you? Now come to my company. You are my CFO. You never know. So that is the relationship built up in the university. It's so important. It's more important than the knowledge you learn. Knowledge will becomes old, but the relationship will keep going on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We have another few points.
I have some. As I've been teaching for 6 years, okay, and I have been working in corporate for similar, almost 10 years now. Yeah. As you can see, first thing I looked back when Isaac Newton was working on his theory on this one. We learned F equal to ma and this thing. And I learned he was doing this as part of his research, right? And then he earned his doctorate, whatever, many hundred years ago. So the process at AIT is a higher learning institution. The process that we learn to earn a higher degree is the same. But when you're dealing with the acceptance of the publication of the usefulness of your research, right? So the research have to evolve. And what happened here is the result, what goes mainstream here is the result of like 10, 20 years ago. Like my PhD research, coincidentally, is what is called today smart cities. But 10 years ago, 13 years ago, it's not named this thing, but it's the same thing, right? So in the university, it's like what Herbert says, is you talk ahead of what is happening now. It's like Intel released a new CPU, new today, but it was like that research almost 10 years ago. They do something in advance. So this thing then is a place for university. There is no room for daydreaming in corporate. In the big corporate, you are chased with the performance every quarter. You have to answer the shareholders that, hey, why is it the revenue is dropping or whatever, right? Even you are an R&D in the corporate, they expect something useful from you. Useful at that time, not useful 10 years from now, right? So this is the place where the university plays a major role. It's like a stock first advanced stream for the knowledge of mankind. And then the next thing is the mindset of the people. I have seen many things like the university is a place that you can buy knowledge or buy degree. Then it's not like that. Like in Thai we have a saying, but I don't know in English. But you don't go to university and pay money for your knowledge. Knowledge cannot be bought or cannot be bought. You learn from someone, and that someone is kind enough to stay in a lower paying, right, than the industry. If he use his knowledge and he works in a corporate, he earn much more, but he stay here to teach to someone, right? So we have to change the mindset of the people as well. But like I said, the world has been too much materialized, right? You do everything like a business. But it's not like, it's good that we are in Asia. The Asian culture is not like that. So people are kind. You thank someone because they are kind to you, not because you are a customer and then you pay to expect that they deliver knowledge to you and then load to your brain or something. Yeah. Thank you.
I would like
Yes.
to very short one. Actually, from my opinion, nowadays university is a kind of education business. So I think the university have to think in the way that the business do. For example, the thing that you deliver still have the same value as it was before. If it's not, it means that you have to change your business model. It means that you have to change what you deliver to the customer. The customer is the same group of the people as it was in the past. If it's not, you have to think about the new target group, new customer. So I think what the university have to do is adopt the mindset and the way of thinking as the business do.
Yes. So knowledge is not the primary rule anymore. So the primary rule becomes ethics and value systems and human-human interactions and build up of networks.
Okay, I'm gonna finish on that. Don't kill me. I believe the university model, as of today, in many universities, is completely obsolete. In the same time, I believe the event you are doing today is what you should do. Let me explain. Aside of research, like high, advanced research, which is very valuable, and the networking aspect, which, having a network is really what people pay for, partially for a master degree. I believe the university, as it's still designed today and operating today, have been designed for an operating system of work happening 100, 200 years ago, during the first and second industrial revolution. Factory, management, all these things, putting people into boxes so they can do this thing 100 times per year for 10 years, 20 years. My grandmom is 94. I talk a lot with her. 94. She's been in the same company for 40 years, doing the same thing over and over and over. When she went to university, she learned to do one thing, and she's done this thing 40 years. This is what university is training people for. And most of university today still train the people to be a marketing manager or to be operation or AB220 type of position, right? So these boxes. And I believe with the advancement of technology now, software is actually doing these things 100 times for us. So my grandmom has been replaced by a software that I pay $10 per month right now. Right? Like seriously. Everything that is to be done 10 times, 100 times is a software already. And if it's not, it's going to become tomorrow. Right? And if it's not a software, it's going to be a very small robot or a sensor, right, that's going to automate it. So the place of the humans in the workplace next decade and for the past decade has already been redefined. And as you mentioned, most of the people who were making a lot of money today, those tech guys, they actually didn't learn it at school. They learn it by themselves because the knowledge is online already. Stack Overflow is free for access for anyone. Right? You can watch anything that you want about data science for free. Right? So the university should be adapted to that, right? And basically be extremely technical for the market needs, or actually move to another business area, which I think is the key, and this is today's event, is the enterprise relationship, the employability. Think about this. During COVID, 130 million people lost their job globally. That's the numbers from the ILO. There's a big problem. All these people, they want a job, they want an income, right? Where do they go? They go back to university to learn history, to learn science? No, right? The university is not answering that problem. They need a job. They just need a job. So university, I believe, will move more and more into becoming recruitment and employability businesses by preparing direct-to-market employment for their graduates. However, where I think there is a big threat is actually big companies are doing that now. So I don't think majority of the university will have the chance to adapt fast enough to be able to provide something usable enough rather than going to Google and being Google certified and make a lot of money. So I think the biggest threat of AIT today is Google in the US, and maybe Alibaba are going to create this training and certification program here as well to enable people to work in the e-commerce industry, right? And that's the highest paying jobs right now, unfortunately. So yeah, I believe today events, AIT enterprise alliances is a major important shift for your company and your university. I think you guys are doing exactly what you should do. Bringing relationship with recruiters and employers to your graduate is the only thing they are paying for right now. And this is great that you already stepped ahead to do it.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's still hope. Okay, good. So I think we are at the end of our event and the time. So I want to thank all the panelists again online and here on stage. And I want to thank everybody to come to this event. And I also want to thank our online viewers who are still here with us. And I hope we could get something out of this and have some new ideas. And we will take this into account to develop AIT further. I think, yeah, we are on the right track. We changed a lot in the last, I think, year. And we will offer, you know, we have a new mode to deliver our classes. We call it hybrid mode of instruction, which is quite similar to what we're doing now here. And we will offer many of our courses in this hybrid mode to enable, you know, people who are still in the job or, you know, people who are somewhere, you know, to participate, to get a degree, or to get just one specific certificate for one specific skill they need, you know, to find their next job. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming and participating, and all the best, and hope to see you soon again at AIT, either on the campus or online. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.